Absolutely, where good music lives. You're listening to 96.3 Nation FM. Leo ni Sharia. Karibu sana if you're just joining us. My name is Mariam Bishar.
Most bankable host Brian Aseli.
And yours truly DJ E, aka Mr. Big Energy.
Aposa, we're just about to get into a great conversation. It affects everyone, including you. That's why it's important that we discuss it today. In preparation of the Africa Climate Summit that's going to be going down at the KICC from 4th till 6th. And of course, Africa will be converging to make sure that we get to find formidable solutions, sustainable solutions for our climate. And right now, we'd like to introduce our guest today.
Absolutely. In studio with us, we have Eric Oyare, who is the Blue Heart of Africa initiative leader at the WWF. He'll be speaking to us about the the freshwater challenge that is happening. It is, of course, an initiative by Kenya and Zambia that is seeking to conserve our water sources and make sure that what we have, we're using well, and we can also maybe create new freshwater sources in the near future. Karibu sana to studio, Eric.
Thank you so much, Mariam.
It is so good to have you. I'll ask you maybe to just introduce yourself the way you like to be introduced and what you do at the WWF.
Thank you, Mariam. I think you've done a great job.
Yeah. Thank you.
I work with the Worldwide Fund for Nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need to underline that Worldwide Fund for Nature, not wildlife.
Yes.
So we moved from concentrating on wildlife conservation to more environmental conservation. I lead the Blue Heart of Africa initiative, which is an umbrella initiative of WWF offices in Africa, about 16 of them, but Blue Heart is currently active in 10 offices from south to north. And I lead the coordination of our freshwater work so that we ensure that our water resources actions are harmonious and leading to policy, are leading to partnerships, are leading to capacitation of governments and non-state actors to ensure that we deliver sustainability around water resources, water security for humanity and for nature.
Yeah,
that's really the role.
Yeah, there's so many questions about the climate in it and of course water, but what role do freshwater ecosystems play in building climate resilience?
Thank you, Brian. I think let's make this very pragmatic.
Yes.
And what are freshwater ecosystems and resources? Basically, we are looking at rivers, we are looking at our springs, we're looking at our lakes. Kenya, we know in the East Africa community, we are part of the Lake Victoria, which is one of the, I think, the second largest freshwater lake globally. And so these are the freshwater resources we are talking about. We are talking of wetlands. We are talking of, for instance, Lake Baringo, Lake Bogoria in Kenya. We are talking of Lake Kyoga in Uganda. We are talking of River Limpopo, South Africa, Mozambique. We are talking of Garamele Basin in Tunisia. We are talking of the Niger Delta, the Congo Basin. All these are the freshwater resources we are talking about. And therefore, the question of how do they support in terms of resilience building, our food security, our crop security, our energy, our, the whole livelihood, our biodiversity, wildlife. Kenya, one of our greatest, foreign exchange income earners is tourism. And tourists come to Kenya to watch, for instance, the wild beast migration in the Mara, and about 30% or so, according to our GDP, depend on tourism. And therefore, if our freshwater habitats, which provide the systems and the services they provide for this wildlife, are degraded, we have polluted, rivers, we have, people not getting the water resources in terms of quality they need. Drinking water, a lot of our local communities depend on fetching water from the rivers. Our mothers, we know how they trek to the rivers to fetch water. Young girls, young boys, water trucking. So that is the relationship you need to create. And when these systems are degraded, which means, for instance, statistically, globally, we are looking at WWF releases what we are calling, the status report of our ecological integrity. And that report indicated that from around 1970, currently, we've lost about 80%, 83% of our freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity. That means that we are degrading our rivers, we are degrading our wetlands, we are affecting our lakes, and therefore they are not able to provide the ecosystem services that they are providing, which I've already enlisted. And therefore, the resilience building we are talking about here is basically saying climate change is with us. And we are facing, droughts, we are facing erratic rainfall patterns. Our agricultural systems are dependent on rainfed. Part of it is irrigated.
Yes.
Irrigation, other than, sinking boreholes, most of our irrigated agriculture is dependent on water drawn from rivers
Yeah.
or lakes. And therefore, what we are saying is for us to get back our local community, our governments, our development back on the track in terms of being resilient to climate change. The impact of climate change is here with us, and we know how it ravages. We have to address our freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity. We have to ensure that our rivers are reconnected. If we are building dams, for instance, the Kenya government with the Marshall Plan of building dams, be it for water storage, be it for hydropower, we need to ensure that we are observing the recharge patterns. How are we sure, for instance, that if we link a dam to a particular river, the recharge system, the wetlands, the catchment which this river is drawing from are conserved. We are talking of conserving the Mao.
Yes.
We are talking of conserving the Abadeas. The essence of this is so that we ensure that our rivers are flowing and providing the resources that are required, for instance, to turn the turbines to provide energy. And therefore, that kind of narrative is what we are saying for us to ensure that people have food, for us to ensure that our local communities have access to water from the rivers, from the springs, and from the lakes. We have to ensure we are protecting the water resources. We have to ensure, for instance, we are developing policies. We are putting money to reconnect rivers, to restore our catchments, to restore our wetlands, and to do all this that requires to bring back rivers to where they were, to bring back fresh
I have
water
to cut you
resources
a bit short,
Yeah.
but what you're saying sounds like a very expensive affair.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of goodwill as far as matters climate change, but how much would you say would be required to be able to restore our freshwater ecosystems back, to a level that is, sustainable for us and for the future generations, and perhaps even to reclaim, some wetlands, etc.
So I want to make it this more local because Africa Climate Week is happening from Monday.
Yes.
But we are hosting this in Kenya, and we are speaking on Nation FM to, of course, the global audience,
Yes.
people tuning in online. But let's look at Kenya so that we can extrapolate this even continentally.
Yeah.
Kenya requires almost a fifth of our budget. Currently, the current financial year, our budget is about 2.11 trillion. We require about 200 billion Kenya shillings to finance freshwater ecosystem restoration and protection and management. So if we are talking of protecting Mao, if we are talking of restoring, reforesting Abadeas, all this,
Yes.
the water towers, we are talking of efficient water use in terms of agriculture. We require about 200 billion Kenya shillings to do that. Globally, from a global perspective, Africa, in terms of US dollars, between 2020 to 2030, as a research that was done by Global Center on Adaptation, indicated that we require about 600 billion US dollars, which translates to about 52 billion US dollars per year for Africa, about the 52 or so 54 states in Africa. So approximately about each state requires
About a billion,
a billion or 1.2 billion US dollars annually to do the work that we are mandated to do and we're required to do, to bring back our rivers, to ensure that our wetlands are restored, to all this talk that we are discussing.
I'm
That's
curious
all
about that funding and where it'll come from, and of course some of the work that's being done, but we'll get back into that conversation in just a little bit. We're getting back into the music with DJ E. When we come, the conversation with